So I saw the new movie Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is actually the sequel of the 2018 movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, who won multiple awards for Best Animated Movie, which is the Golden Globe, the Critic Choice Awards, and the Oscars, which it is an incredible movie. So we get to see Miles Morales, aka Spider-Man, heads toward the Spider-Verse, where Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man of 2099, where things have gone wrong. So here is the review of the movie right now. So the movie begins with the 16 month after the events on Earth 65, which took place during the Into the Spider-Verse movie, which we see Gwen Stacy, aka Spider-Woman, who's actually voiced by Hilary Stafford, who was in Bumblebee movie and was on the first Spider-Verse movie, who's struggling to keep up with the expectations of her father, who didn't know of her identity, which she was being hunted in revenge, knowing of what happened, and the disbelief that she was the cause of her universe Spider-Man, by which we see one night after hearing about a possible intruder in a museum where she confronted the threat, which she actually run into Adrian Toomes, who is Vulture, but it was actually a Renaissance themed Vulture that comes from an alternate world. That is when she actually have escaped, but she actually saw the portals where we see Miguel O'Hara, who is Spider-Man of the year 2099, which is the future, and is voiced by Oscar Isaac, who was in Marvel Studios' Moon Knight, which I haven't seen it yet, and Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, who's an African American version of Spider-Woman, but she's also pregnant as well, and she's also voiced by Aisha Real, which they actually subdued the Vulture in the process, which afterward, Gwen has revealed herself to her father, who actually became shocked and attempted to arrest her. But we knew that Drew actually suggested O'Hara to let Gwen join the Spider Society, which he reluctantly agreed. So they decided to leave Earth 65 and headed, in which we headed back to Earth 1610, where Miles Morales in Brooklyn, who decided to adapt his role of being Spider-Man, knowing of how he took up the mantle of the late Spider-Man of his universe, who's actually voiced by Shamil Moose, in which he returned from the first movie, by which we see how he tried to struggle to live up to his parents' expectations, which we see how his parents, who are actually the voices of Brian Taylor Henry as Jefferson Davis, who's actually in Marvel Studios Eternals, and Luna Lauren Farias, who's actually voiced Rio Morales, which they're actually new that Miles have an attitude knowing that there's something wrong, while mourn the departure of Gwen, which he now has feelings for her, and which during the meeting at his school, he's actually have visited a convenience store where he has confronting the villain known as the Spot. The Spot, or his real name, is Dr. Jonathan Owen, who's actually a scientist using the experiment to transform his body to use the same powers as a superhero cloak. But he actually has using the spots to create portals on his body where he collaborate with other things, who's actually voiced by Jason Strassman, which he actually battles the Spot, in which he has to do him and bring him back to Anthrax, where he met with his parents, knowing that he's struggling in his school. So now, knowing of how he has broken out and confronting him, knowing that transporting him to a void, where he using the portals to travel to different universes where the collaborator is there, which he actually knew that Gwen is visiting Miles, so they actually swing with their webs and actually having a meeting of what happening. So now he has created his own collaborator and became more dangerous. So now Drew contacted Gwen to tell her to leave Miles behind to confront the Spot. Unbeknownst to them, Miles just so happens to follow them to the portal to Earth 50101, where he confronted Predator Pralhadkar, aka Spider-Man India, who's actually is voiced by Karen Sunny, who's actually Darpender in the Deadpool movies, and Hobby Brown, aka Spider-Punk, an African American British version of the Spider-Punk, who's actually voiced by Daniel Kaluuya, who's actually is in Marvel Studios' Black Panther movie, in which they realize how they confronting the Spot with their collaborator and successfully absorb its powers before escaping, during which we knew how the events could have actually happened. So, we knew how Miles, Gwen, India, and Punk had been sent towards the headquarters on Earth 928, where there's a whole lot, which could be hundreds, of the versions of Spider-Man, which they call the Spider Society, which of course the Miles and Peter from the PlayStation Spider-Man game is there, and also I actually have a few versions of the Spider-Man that I love, but I won't go through that. However, they actually met O'Hara, who told Miles that he's risking the destruction of the multiverse, which he did mention Peter Parker, which played by Tom Holland and Doctor Strange in the Spider-Man No Way Home movie, by which we knew how they actually met up with Peter P. Parker, who now have a child with Mary J, who is happy with his life, and also voiced by Jake Johnson, which we knew how O'Hara say that the canon works in each Spider-Man movie and the fabric of the multiverse as well. Knowing how the Spider-Man suffered sacrifices to maintain a stable multiverse, kind of like a story origin, how they've lost their uncles. So that means that in each universes, Peter had lost Uncle Ben, and which the story goes on, which we knew how Miles realizing that his father's death at the hands of the Spot is to be a canyon event for the universe to maintain. So he decided to flee, causing all the Spider-Men ordered by O'Hara to apprehend him. So they actually did a mean scene where they actually point which is which I actually see a live action photo of Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland did the same thing, which that actually is amazing of what they actually did, and props to them for actually creating it. But we knew how they actually chasing him, in which do a therapy session where Peter and the therapist version of Peter actually arrive, which they crash through it. So after the chase, O'Hara strike down Miles, knowing that he wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man because of the spider bit him, was actually the being of, actually being from the alternate universe, which he broke free, saying that he's going to do his own thing, headed back to his home world and save his father. Knowing that O'Hara seeing Gwen as a liability to what's happened, they actually kick her out and send her back to her own universe, where we knew that her father has reassigned as police captain, knowing of the fact that he won't arrest his own daughter. So now she actually knew what she has to do. So the canon events can be rewritten and use a watch that she stole from Hobby to find Miles, which of course, going back to the apartment, we see how Miles revealed to his mother that he is Spider-Man, who she didn't recognize, and he confronted his uncle, realizing that he is from Earth 42, which the spider that bit him was actually and who was actually Aaron Davis, who was actually the Prowler, and he was voiced Mahershala Ali, who was actually in the first movie as the Prowler and was on Alita Battle Angel. And he realized that his father is dead, and there is no Spider-Man in the Earth. So Aaron have actually interrogate him, make Miles realize that he isn't the Prowler that he confronted, by which we knew that he was confronting the Miles of that Earth who became the Prowler. So O'Hara Drew and Ben Riley, who's the Scarlet Spider, a clone of Peter Parker, who's actually voiced by Andy Samberg, who actually appeared on Earth 1610 just as the Spot arrived to kill Miles' father. But we knew how Gwen, after speaking with Rio and Jefferson on Earth 1610, which she had already assembled a team, by which, of course, Peter B. Mayday, Dark Pearl, Hobby, Spider Bites, who was actually a digital version of Spider Woman, who is actually from a virtual reality version of the universe, who's actually voiced by Amanda Statberg, who's actually on The Darkest Minds, The Hunger Games, and The Hate You Gave, which of course, along with Spider Noir, Penny, and Spider Ham, to try to find Miles, knowing that he could be in danger. And the movie actually ends there. Now, to be honest, I really love this movie, just like how I love the first one, which actually won the Oscars, Golden Globe, Critical Choice Award, and so on. Which I actually love how there's different universes of the Spider-Mans, including the video game version and the cartoon version. My favorite Spider-Man happens to be the Spider Knight of the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. Video cartoon show, which a knight as the Spider-Man, which is actually incredible. And I cannot wait to see the third Spider-Verse movie, which they call it Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. So it'll come out next year, which is March 29th of 2024. So, to be honest, this movie is incredible, which of course the visual effects, the animation, and the many Spider-Mans, this is actually a really cool movie. And I cannot wait to see what's going to happen on the third movie next year. But all in all, this is actually a really amazing movie, which 96% on Rotten Tomatoes is actually incredible. So anyway, like this video, subscribe for more, and comment anything about the movie review. You guys can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and my Facebook page and Twitch. Until then, this is Anime Guy here saying signing out. Laters and be safe.